The caravan stopped at the edge of a lake, its calm surface reflecting the sun's rays streaming through the trees. Chris and Joyce, excited by the beauty of the place, hurried to open the doors of the vehicle, eager to improvise a picnic. The decision to take that trip together arose from a desire to enjoy quality time as a family, something they had put off for too long. While the parents felt the excitement of the adventure, Ashley, the daughter, didn't share the same enthusiasm. All her friends had agreed to go to a concert, and she had lost the opportunity to spend a magical night with the boy she liked, because she was in the middle of nature with her parents, where there was no cell phone signal to connect to TikTok. While they prepared the snack, Ashley listlessly observed her surroundings. She had no coverage there. She couldn't even spend time making a video call with her friends. She was moving from one side to the other, extending her hand with the cell phone above her head, trying to look for a signal line. But it was impossible. There, between the mountains and the trees, they were totally isolated. The father began to prepare the snack while the mother changed her clothes and put on a swimsuit. Joyce encouraged her daughter to do the same. "Ashley, come and put on your bikini to swim with me." But she barely nodded without taking her eyes off her phone. The young woman snorted, and although the idea of taking a cold bath in the lake with her mother was not her favorite plan, she decided to listen to her and let the hours of her family vacation pass as quickly as possible. When mother and daughter were about to enjoy the lake, a surprise interrupted their tranquility. A man was fishing on the shore. They both got scared because they thought there would be no one there. Given how large the lake and the forest were, the likelihood of them meeting at some point seemed remote. Joyce greeted him kindly, but the response wasn't what she expected. The man, with a hard expression, told them that they couldn't remain there because it was a private area. The woman, surprised, apologized, explaining that they weren't aware because they hadn't seen any sign prohibiting access, and promised that they would leave immediately. Then the man began to gather his belongings. At that moment, Ashley whispered to her mother, "He's leaving. We don't need to leave. He's not coming back." However, the man, with keen hearing, caught every word and insisted that they leave the place. The young woman, defiant, gave him a mocking look, while her mother, giving her daughter a light blow on the leg, tried to avoid complications. Upon returning to the father's side and telling him what had happened, disappointment took hold of the family. They had prepared everything to spend the day. The table set up to eat outdoors and even the awning set up for shade. Given the possibility that the man would return, the wife suggested that it would be best to leave and find another place to spend the night. A few kilometers away, they would find equally beautiful places to enjoy their time together. After breaking down their makeshift camp, the three family members climbed into the caravan and the father started the engine. However, the rear wheels began to spin, sinking deeper and deeper into the sand. Ashley's voice rang with frustration. "Couldn't anything worse happen on this trip? Great, now we're stuck in this place." The mother yelled at her daughter to shut up, aware of the tension in the atmosphere. Nerves were beginning to take over the situation, and the couple didn't need their daughter to make things worse. Chris decided to take matters into his own hands and got out of the vehicle. He asked Joyce to drive away while he tried to dig out the wheels and push the caravan. With each attempt, the wheels sunk deeper into the sand. At one point, Chris was blinded when sand got into his eyes. As bad luck would have it, at that moment, Joyce activated reverse gear, freeing the caravan from the sand and hitting Chris, throwing him to the ground. When Joyce and Ashley felt the impact, they ran outside to see what had happened, and they found Chris's leg trapped under the wheel as he screamed heartbreakingly, asking them to accelerate forward to free him. Full of nerves and panic, the woman obeyed, making the wheel free Chris and becoming trapped in the hole again. The situation in the caravan was becoming increasingly desperate. Upon examining the leg, they realized that blood was flowing very abundantly. They didn't know if he had a broken bone or some more serious injury, but it was clear that he couldn't move. The scene was distressing. Caravan trapped, without cover, and Chris with a bleeding leg and full of pain. Nervously, Joyce and Ashley helped the man lie down on the bed on the camper, and with what they had on hand, improvised a tourniquet to stop the bleeding. Given the seriousness of the situation, the daughter proposed going away alone in search of coverage to call emergencies, but her mother refused. With the sun setting, the risk of Ashley getting lost could be another problem. So they decided to give the father several painkillers, making him relax and finally fall asleep. Although it wasn't a definitive solution, it would at least provide relief from the intense pain in his leg. With the arrival of night, mother and daughter decided to stay in the place, even though it was private. They reasoned that if more people showed up to throw them out, it would be positive, because they could help them. The idea of receiving help outweighed the fear of any fine. So they decided not to separate until the next morning, when the sunlight would make it safer and easier to look for cover or someone. When she woke up, Ashley found her mother preparing to leave. The young woman insisted on going out herself to look for help, but Joyce, again, prevented her. She explained that she would try to look for a signal on the phone of the fisherman they had seen the day before. Maybe he was someone who frequented the area. In this way, the daughter was left in the care of her sleeping father, while the mother ventured with the phone into the forest. To avoid getting lost, Joyce had tied red ropes to the trees, creating a trail that would allow her to return without difficulty. After walking for a couple of hours, she began to feel that there was no way out of this place. She had taken some shortcuts through paths away from the road they had arrived on, thinking she would be able to find the main road sooner. But she only managed to get farther lost. She was about to back away when, in the distance, she spotted what appeared to be a building. Determined, she headed towards it and was surprised to discover that it was a fairly old house. She approached the door and, knocking loudly, shouted, "Please help! Is there anyone there? I have no signal and my husband is injured. Can you help me?" However, she received no response. Desperate, she went around the house banging on the window panes in an attempt to get the owner's attention. As she reached the back door, she noticed that it wasn't completely closed. After hesitating for a moment, she decided to enter the house. With slow, timid steps, she continued to ask out loud if anyone was there, but the silence persisted. Although aware that her action was completely illegal, desperation to find help led her to go inside in search of a phone. However, she found none. Suddenly, she heard noises coming from the second floor. Joyce spoke loudly again, and the noises above became louder, indicating that she wasn't alone. With a slow step, she ascended the steps that led to the second floor and approached the door from which the screams came. Suddenly, she could understand the words clearly. "Please help me! I'm locked up!" The voice, to her surprise, belonged to a child. She got scared and thought she was getting into trouble. Although she wanted to turn around and leave, the boy's desperate voice forced her to stay. The door, closed with a double padlock, raised her suspicions. Who would lock someone up with padlocks? Was she in a kidnapper's house? She decided to lift the iron flap on the door, similar to those on mailboxes, to see inside. The shocking scene left her breathless. A boy of about 10 or 11 years old was tied with straps and chains to an iron structure. The length of the chains allowed him to approach only the door and lie down on the bed, the only piece of furniture in the room. With teary eyes, the boy begged Joyce to help him escape, claiming he was being held prisoner. The woman, overwhelmed and not knowing what to do, was surprised by the noise of someone entering the house. She quickly hid in another room when the boy whispered to him, "Free my sister. They have her trapped in the basement." Crouching inside a closet, Joyce heard a man walk up the stairs and go to the little boy's door. He told him that he brought him food, while the boy responded that someone had entered the house and that they were going to save him. Hearing those words, Joyce began to tremble with fear. The miner had betrayed her, and the man was going to find her. A few seconds later, the man entered the room where she was hiding. Through a small gap in the closet, she could see his face. It was the fisherman she had seen at the lake the day before. The man muttered something as he left the house, leaving Joyce certain that he was suspicious of her and her family. It was a dangerous situation, and the fact that she had left her daughter and her injured husband alone added to her anxiety. If this man was capable of retaining a child, what measures would he take to protect her secret? When the noise of the motorcycle was far enough away, she left her hiding place and decided to return to the caravan area. As she descended the stairs, the boy begged her again. "Please don't leave me here. Save me." Although she assured him that she would seek help and return to free him, she told him that she should first run and leave to protect her family. Following the rope mark she had left, Joyce quickly reached the trailer area. Crouching in the bushes, she watched as the man spoke to her daughter, approaching the young woman. Without hesitation, she picked up a piece of wood from the ground, fat and firm enough. While the man's back was turned, the woman moved stealthily, caught her daughter's attention and gestured with her fingers to her mouth, begging her to be silent. When she got close enough, she hit the man in the head, causing him to fall unconscious for a short time. It hadn't been a fatal blow. It had simply stunned him long enough for her daughter to help tie his hands and feet. They had to do it quickly before he regained consciousness. Confused and scared, Ashley screamed at her mother for an explanation as to why she had hit the only man she thought could help them. However, Joyce's serious and determined look told her that it was not a time for questioning, just for obeying. He handed a knife from the trailer cutlery to his daughter and warned her not to let the fisherman out of her sight. It was dangerous. He must be left tied up and under no circumstances freed. She then searched the man's pocket and found a key ring with several keys. Their mission was to return to the house, free the child, and seek for help. When she arrived at the house, she used the keys to open the room where the little boy was. The boy was tied up as if he were an animal. Among the keys on the keychain, he located the ones that freed him from the chains. When the boy was free, he began to jump, screaming with joy, and began to exaggerately insist that he also free his sister. Joyce explained that she didn't have time, that he had to help her find help before the man hurt her family. However, the boy's response was unexpected. He hit her hard in the face with his head, leaving her unconscious on the ground. Meanwhile, next to the caravan, Ashley threatened the man with a knife. When he woke up, he begged her to let him go, warning her that her mother was in danger. He assured her that his son was very dangerous and could do a lot of harm to anyone who got close to him. Although Ashley didn't fully understand the situation, she remembered her mother's key instruction: don't let go of the man. While her father was still asleep under the effects of the painkiller, something moved in the bushes, surprising the young woman. It was the boy, walking determinedly towards his father. She yelled at him to get out of there, but the young man didn't obey. Suddenly, as if he had superhuman strength, the boy dragged the man across the floor while he was still tied. Despite the fisherman's pleas, Ashley chose to take refuge in the caravan, locking it from the inside and observing the disconcerting panorama outside through the windows. Thus, the young woman watched in horror as the boy dragged his father's body by his feet to the lake. Along the way, his head was tripping over stones and sticks, and he was getting wounds that stained the trail with blood. When he reached the water, he continued dragging the tied body and let it sink. Despite the man's desperate attempts to avoid drowning, the little boy, with a smile on his lips, pressed his hand over his mouth, taking him all the way to the bottom until the man's feet stopped kicking. Ashley's incessant screams woke her father up. She had just witnessed the death of that man at the hands of her son. The little boy approached the window of the caravan, smiling angelically and sweetly, as if he were the most innocent child. Then he returned to the forest, returning to his home. Shortly after, Joyce opened her eyes, noticing a wound on her forehead and feeling dizzy. The surroundings were unfamiliar to her. It looked like a basement. It was very dark and it smelled extremely bad. Suddenly, the ceiling light bulb turned on, blinding her for a few seconds. Examining her body, she realized that she was changed in the same way as the boy was when she first found him. At that moment, the little boy entered the basement with playful laughter. He announced her that he had finally killed his father and that he would now have new friends. He revealed that his father didn't allow him to get close to anyone, not even his own sister. Afterwards, he kissed Joyce, who was terrified, on the forehead, and assured her that she would soon be reunited with her daughter and her husband, because he would go look for them. Before leaving, the boy told her that he was leaving her plane with his sister. Looking around in bewilderment, Joyce found no one and asked terrified, "Where is she?" At that moment, the boy grabbed a flashlight and illuminated a corner of the basement. Tied with chains around the neck and torso, lying in an advanced state of decomposition, was the sister's body. The boy laughed and jumped for joy, exclaiming, "Finally, we can play together." If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like it. And if you want to see more Draw My Life videos, subscribe to our channel. See you in the next episode.